Raise your hand if you like the idea of becoming your own boss. Now, raise your hand if you like the idea of owning your own business, at least now or at some point in the future. Raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Thank you. So based on them 2 questions, then I'm guessing that you're here for at least 1 of 3 reasons. Maybe you're sitting here today because you recognise that, right, I'm at university right now, but time's running out. My first year went like that, my second year went like that, whatever year you're in. And you realise that, right, I need to do more of my time here while I'm here right now. Maybe you're here for that reason. Or maybe you're here because you recognise that even when you do graduate, you're not necessarily guaranteed that 20k job, that 30k job as soon as you finish. Due to the competition out there in the market. Maybe you're here for that reason. Maybe you're here because you recognise that fact. Or maybe you're here because you understand that, right, there are people my age or even younger than me who have a business. And maybe you think that, right, I have the opportunity to do that too. I would love to do that as well. Maybe you're here for that reason. So I'm guessing that where you want to be is somewhere over here. I'm guessing that maybe you're sitting here because you want to be in an opportunity to give yourself loads of money. You know, just to be able to buy whatever you want, whenever you want. Oh, what's that, what? Range Rovers are for sale, yeah. Yeah, that got a nice Lambo back in the garage, you know, and you're Italian, so I know you like your Lamborghinis. Maybe you're here for a financial reason. Or maybe you're here because you just want to be able to have the time freedom. To spend time doing what you want, with who you want, whenever you want. Not being restricted by anything else other than what you decide. You know, like, hello, Mum. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm not too bad. Yeah, good. Just a quick one. I don't want to keep you too long. But what are you doing on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock? Yeah, I know the rest of the world will be at work, but whatever you're doing, cancel it. I want to take you out for a breakfast. Maybe you're here because you want to have that kind of freedom where you're not restricted to a clock. You can just do what you want with your loved ones and people you honestly care about. Or maybe you're here for more of a holistic reason. Maybe you're here because you care about people and you want people to look you dead in the eyes and say, right, I haven't given up because of you. You changed my life. Thank you. Maybe you're here for that type of reason. So I'm guessing then, for whatever reason you're over here right now, and over here is different for everybody, I'm guessing that if you do want to make that journey to transition to the other side, the question that you need to ask yourselves is, how? How do I move from my current situation to get to my final destination? Because does it make sense to you that for whatever reason you're over here on this side of the room, does it make sense to you that you must already have some kind of blueprint, you must have some strategy or some framework already in place which is allowing you to stay there? Does that make sense, yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So then does it also make sense to you that for you to make the transition to get to where it is where you want to be, does it make sense to you that you need to apply a different framework, have a different strategy, have a different vehicle in place to allow you to get there? Does that also make sense, yes or no? And that's exactly why I'm here today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to show you how you can make that transition from where you are right now to get to wherever it is you want to be. But I'm also trying to get you to change the way that you think. Because if I can change the way that you think, I can't help but change what you do, can I? Okay, so let's get started. So this is a business event, an entrepreneurship event. But we have to ask ourselves, why is a business or why is entrepreneurism important? Has anybody heard of the term work-life balance before? Right, show of hands. Have you heard of the term work-life balance? Having a work-life balance, that's fair enough. A work-life balance is where they say that you spend an equal amount of time as you do on your work, which is your career-related stuff, as you do on your life, which is your lifestyle. So people who are working in today's world, they always try to encourage people to have a work-life balance. You know, you don't need to be spending too much time on work, you don't have too much, you know, you want to have a balanced kind of lifestyle. And on paper, that sounds fantastic, that sounds great, having a work-life balance. But if you're striving for that in real life, is actually a reality. Because regardless of whatever religious beliefs you may have right now, is it fair to say that we all are experiencing right now, we only have one life? So then, based on that premise, why would you choose to balance this one life with anything else? If you had a choice, why would you choose to have a work-life balance? Wouldn't you rather just live your life and then have everything else fitting around that? You see, when I was growing up, my mum used to play a board game called Scrabble. Have any of you guys heard of the game called Scrabble before? That game, a board game, when you put letters on the board, you try to make whatever words give you the highest score, etc. And for me, I realised very early on when I was literally a kid that there's no such thing as a work-life balance. And why do I say that? I say that because work-life doesn't balance. Let me give you an example with Scrabble. So here's the Scrabble tiles. So you have a score of work here, you have a score of life. Work gives you a score of 11. Whereas life only gives you a score of 7. So even from playing Scrabble, I learned that there's no such thing as a work-life balance, because in playing Scrabble, work is always going to outdo your life. And in real life, it's actually worse than that. Because when you look at a 7-day week, for 5 of those days you're working, for 2 you have off. Where is the work-life balance? When you look over a 52-week period, when you look at it over a year, for 48 of those weeks you're working, on average, and 4 of them you have off. This concept of work-life balance just doesn't exist. The only way to truly and honestly, for yourself to have this idea of a work-life balance is to actually scrap the work, scrap the balance, just scrap the scales, period, and just do what you love. Because they say that if you do what you love, then you will never actually have to work a day in your life anyway. So the question that we need to ask ourselves now is then, how is it that we can do what we love? How can we set our lives up that every single day from now to we pass away, how can we set our lives up where it doesn't feel like we're working, it just feels like we're having fun every single day? And I have no doubt that there are many different solutions out there in the world, but one of the best ones that I've found, which has helped me personally, is just to become a business owner. That's just to own your own business. And am I making sense, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And the reason that I get so passionate about talking about it, especially to students, like Kay knows, Kay's been with me with different talks talking to students. The reason I get so passionate about talking to students about owning a business is because you have the advantage of time. Some of the world's biggest companies right now were started when people were students. By a show of hands, who's heard of a company called Facebook before? I don't want to assume, I can't assume, not everybody, in China, you're not allowed Facebook, I swear, So you all have heard of Facebook before, right? Facebook was started by Mark Zuckerberg in 2003 when he was a student. Michael Dell Computers in 1984. His company is now worth something in the billions. And he started it when he was at Harvard University whilst he was a student. Bill Gates is arguably one of the richest men on the planet right now. He started Microsoft when he was a student. Thank you. So the question we need to ask ourselves then is, why is it important to start a business as a student? What is this advantage I'm talking to you about? And I always like to break it down to 3 reasons why it's important for students to at least consider to start a business. The first one, like I said, you have the advantage of time. You have more time than everybody else. And what do I mean by that? The average person is subjugated to working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Whereas you do not have lectures Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. When people as students say you haven't got time for something, I say that's your choice, because you're not subjugated to the same fate as the rest of the world. How many times are you in lectures? Honestly, twice a week, 3 times a week? And even then it's not 9 to 5, even then it's not full days. You have the advantage that the rest of the world don't have. The second reason why I say it's a great time as a student to start a business is because of the network that you have. I read statistics that said that students are the most connected people in society. And why is that? Because think about it, you come onto a campus, you're surrounded by thousands of people in your same journey. You're surrounded by thousands of like-minded people. You've got your sports clubs, you might do snow sports, whatever it is. You've got your clubs, you've got your societies, you've got the nights out, you've got the lectures. You're the most connected in the whole of society. And the thing is, if you don't use that to your advantage, you're doing yourself a disservice. Again, I'm not trying to not go to work, but when you go to work, you tend to be around the same people for the whole time, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Whereas the variety on campus is flipping amazing. Like, we've got an Italian here, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, where else are you going to be able to network with people from different backgrounds? You're talking about going to get a business abroad? How many people are international students on campus? Hundreds. Do you know what I'm saying? As a student, it's perfect, especially if you want to start a business. And the final reason I say it's an advantage of starting a business while you're a student is the fact that you're still young. We're still young. And what that means is that we don't have the same dependencies on us as people much older than us in their 30s plus. I doubt very much many of us here have a mortgage to pay off. I doubt much of us here you might have a kid, I don't know, but I doubt many of you have a family dependent on you. You don't have these dependencies. But when these do happen, when you do get older, you're going to be less likely to start a business because you've got a mortgage to pay off, you've got 3 kids to feed, you've got a husband, you've got a wife, you've got a car. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to start a business, the best time to do it is when you have less dependence. Does that make sense? The best time to start is when you have less dependencies. Because we all are eventually going to grow up. That's life. We don't live in Neverland. We're not Peter Pan. So if we realize that, right, we're going to get more busy as time goes on, why not just start now? They say the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. And the second best time to plant a tree is right now. That's why I love what Eric Thomas says. Eric Thomas says now is an acronym for no opportunity wasted. Because we have opportunities every single day in front of us. However, the majority of the population let them go past. A small percent, I'm guessing like 3% of the population actually take those opportunities. And that's exactly what I did myself. So to just give you a little bit of background behind me, I know some of you know me from seeing me on campus, but I don't know how many of you actually do know me from prior to 2014 or 2013. So is it okay if I spend a few minutes just telling you a little bit about myself? Is that right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, my first exposure to business came in 2013. I graduated from here. I came to MMUC, as you know. I came to MMUC, I graduated in July of 2014. I was fortunate enough in March of that year to win my Students' Union elections. So, come July, I was going to start my full-time role as Vice President. But I had a problem. As you know, the academic year tends to finish quite early in April, May. It starts to wind down. So I had a gap between me finishing my degree in April/May, from when my final exam was, say, May, to actually starting in July. So I'm the type of kid whereby I like to. They say devil makes work for idle hands. So I like to keep myself busy. So in between the periods of me finishing my last assignments and starting my role in July, I thought, how can I make myself more active? Because I was in crew, yeah, and it's like in crew. Imagine all the students have left booth 4 and you're in there by yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to do something to keep yourself occupied. So I spent a lot of time getting on the trains to Manchester to take part in the events at the MMU Business School. Because they have a lot more, they had at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but at the time in 2013, which is 3 years ago, they had a lot more going on at the business school in MMU. So I spent a lot of weeks there. And that's actually where I came across my first ever business exposure, at the age of 21, you know what I'm saying? And I consider that quite late, especially now you've got kids who are 15, 16 starting businesses. What? If I knew now what I knew back then, I would have killed it. So I had my first exposure when I was 21, going to the MMU Business School. And the business I was going to start is funny. I was going to write a book. It was going to be an exchange book between English and American to talk about the different slangs and stuff like that. But I thought, you know what, this is my idea, I'm going to run with it. So I went there to try and get my business up and running. To cut a long story short, I didn't go along with that. And when it came to July, I started my role as vice president. You know, I thought, okay, I'm working full time now. I'm gonna put that to the side. It's just my initial idea. I just wanted to do something to do with business. So then what really helped it for me is that in August of that year, August 2013, my second, if you want to look at my second business, was becoming an affiliate marketer. And that was something that really sort of changed me, the way my mindset is, and changed the person who I am today. So I was carrying on my role as vice president during that year, and I had to make a decision of March of 2014. This was a life-changing decision for me. And what happened was that in March, as you know, in March of every year is the run again for the student elections. So in March of that year, I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision, did I want to rerun to become vice president again? Or did I just not want to be in an election at all and just try to become an entrepreneur full time? And I remember my head was rattling for weeks. I was like, oh my God, do I take it? You know, I was very confident if I ran again, I was going to win. Not to be big-headed, but I was very confident that I was going to get the votes to become re-elected. So I was really making a decision where, do I want to do the same role again, or do I want to try and become an entrepreneur full time? And I was calling my mum, calling my dad. I mean, I had my girlfriend at the time thinking, what should I do? I had friends come round, I was thinking, what do I do? And I remember I was sitting in my house by the fireplace, and I was just sitting there looking at the fireplace. And then I remember the story called Burn the Boats, as I was looking at the fireplace. And just to give you a bit of background to the story, what happened is that this captain, have you ever seen the film Saving Private Ryan? It's a classic. No problem if you haven't, but in Saving Private Ryan, you've got all the boats coming onto the island to fight this other country. So you have all the boats here, the men coming off the boats, bringing all the machinery, bringing all the guns and stuff like that to go and fight this other country. And now in the story of Burn the Boats, the captain, as his men came off the ship, said, all right guys, I need you to now bring off all the food, bring off all the ammo, bring off all the guns or whatever, and then I want you to burn the boats. And they said, but Captain, if we burn the boats, how are we going to get back? We're not going to be able to get back. And the captain smiled and said, exactly. So that army, they had a choice. It's either do or die. They either win the war or they die. There's no going back. And that was a similar situation I found myself in March of 2014. If I didn't run in the election, it's either do it, become an entrepreneur, or die in the process. Sink or swim. My office was over there. I was sitting in my office. And on the day of the nominations, you have to put yourself up for nominations at 5 p.m. on the day of the deadline. Got to 4:50. I was thinking, shit, do I put my name through? 4:51, 4:52. I was like, shit, do I do it? Should I be like Burn the Boats? Do or die, sink or swim? It's either this or nothing. 4:59. I remember I started to log onto the website just in case I changed my mind. 5 o'clock, I didn't put my name through. And that was on March of 2014. At 5:01, I realised now that, right, I have nothing to turn back to. I have nothing. It's either become a business owner, become an entrepreneur, or starve to death. I had nothing to go back to. Talking about burn the boats, I burned the whole fleet. Sometimes as human beings, you have no idea the potential you do have until you have nothing to go back to. You'd be surprised the potential you have of people until you got nothing to go back to. You'd be surprised about what you can do. So to fast forward to 2016, I finished my role of July that year, July 2014. Fast forward now to 2016. Well, when it gets to July 2016, I've now been a full-time business owner and entrepreneur for 2 years. And that all came from me making that decision. So you've got to ask yourselves, when is it that you're going to make a decision? What is that decision going to be? What is it going to take for you just to go all in? You know, a lot of people use the term coming all in. Because some people, when you go swimming, people want to dip their toe. You know when the water's cold, they say, you've got to dip my toe, get into it. No, you tell them, you just got to jump in. That's the only way to get used to the water, right? That's what you swim as well, right? So you can't just dip your toe when you're going swimming. You have to just go all in. So you got to ask yourself, when are you going to go all in for it? So then, what's that look like for me now? I've got some slides here. Is that I've been fortunate to travel. Over the last 2 years, I've been traveling literally everywhere. I went to Europe. This is me in Slovakia, or that's Slovakia airport. I was in Slovakia. I thought, let me put up a picture of me caught slipping. I thought that's kind of funny. This is me in Slovakia and Austria. I've been to America twice in the last 2 years. Went to Miami, spent time in Miami. My brother flew out as well. I was sick. I stood at the same place where Martin Luther King did his "I Have a Dream" speech. So that was really, really important for me. I chilled with crocodiles down in Florida. Went to Beverly Hills on the West Coast. So been to Vegas. Also went to Australia. Skydiving in Australia, surfing, like, it's crazy. Taking selfies with kangaroos, that's that famous bridge, I don't know what it's called, but it's in the Opera House. Sydney Harbour Bridge. Sydney Harbour Bridge, there you go. And then I'm going to be going to Turkey in this summer. I thought it would be funny just to... You might as well laugh now, because it's not going to get any funnier than this. So like. And then also, over the last 2 years, I've been very fortunate to be put on a national scale. I've been put on BBC News live, working with different producers. Hugh Edwards, been in the studios, been in Newsbeat's debates. And the reason that's crazy is because I'll be sitting at my house sometimes and they'll just call me. I'll get BBC phoning me saying, kind of, we need you to, we've got a taxi booked for you to go to London. Like, they'll literally pay a taxi to go from flipping, like, Manchester to London. It's crazy the money they have, but they'll literally call my phone. And the amount of producers I have in my phone now, it's just crazy. Do you get what I'm saying? It's crazy. You know when the Paris bombings went off? I phoned one of the producers because I wanted to chat with him. He was actually on site of the Paris bombing on air. And that was crazy. Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy the network I've been able to build up over the last 2 years just from making that decision of burning the boats. Also, and so that's on a national scale, but more locally, they put me in a papering crew. They wanted to interview me to be like, right, you're doing big stuff. What is it you're doing? So they put me in the paper. And the reason that's funny is because I'm from South London, right? And South London is notoriously rough. So most of my friends, they get put in the paper with mugshots. You know what I'm saying? They get put in the paper for crimes. And I know this might look like a mugshot, yeah, but this is you smiling. So I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm just saying that to impress upon you that it's possible. And I don't necessarily think I've done anything special. I don't think I have. And sometimes, my sister and my family get onto me, they say that you need to be grateful for what you have, because what you don't appreciate depreciates. Then you've heard that quote, what you don't appreciate depreciates. And I honestly believe that I'm not anyone special in the sense that if I did it, I believe everybody else can. Because if anybody knew me before 2010, I was not the same person you see standing in front of you today. This is my reality. I just used to be walking around like this, angry all the time. This is me when I was 16 years old. This is my face. I didn't smile. This is what my life was like. This is me and my man them on the back of a bus in London. We used to just roll around London causing trouble. In fact, that day I was actually arrested that night as well. That was my life. Even for me to get to university, I didn't get into university. I didn't pass college. I had to go through a process called clearing. I failed college. So I shouldn't have even been at university in the first place. If it wasn't for me phoning MMU and begging them to let me in, and I didn't only call MMU, I called hundreds of universities up and around the country, because I knew that, right, I had to go to uni. If I stay in London anymore, I'm going to end up in jail. So I was like, right, someone has to let me in. So when people complain about coming to MMU Cheshire, that was my lifeline. I was happy. I was like, yo, uni or this is either MMU or nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, right, this was my lifeline. So that is who I was. That was my life. So if I was able to make that transition to go from that to where I am now, you guys definitely can. I know that you can. Oops. Sorry. Right then. I don't want to take up too much time, but what I want to share with you now is it's not all about me. Like, I don't necessarily enjoy this comment about telling my story. It's not just about me. I'm interested in how I can help you. How can I help you? And so for the next few things I want to talk about for the next couple of minutes, I want to share with you some specific strategies that I use to apply to my life that hopefully can help you too. Because if you choose not to apply these strategies, if you choose to go against what I'm saying, I can guarantee to you that every single day between now and for the rest of your life will be absolutely boring. I guarantee to you the rest of your life will be very, very monotonous if you don't do what I'm about to share with you. You know, there's statistics that says that most people die when they're 25 but don't get buried until they're 75. You know, they die when they're 25 but don't get buried until they're 75. That means their hopes, their ideas, their dreams have died and they're just walking like robots for the rest of your life. I can guarantee if you don't apply what I'm about to share with you, you'll be doing the same thing. You'll fit the statistics that Bronnie Ware's research says that the biggest regret of people dying is not becoming the life what they thought they should have had. You know, people don't regret what they did do, people regret what they didn't do. So a lot of people on their deathbeds right now, they don't think, oh man, I shouldn't have slept with 10 people at uni, oh man, I shouldn't have spent so much money in Vegas. They care about the things what they wish they could have done. Someone once told me that the definition of hell on earth is meeting the person you could have been. I can almost guarantee to you, if you don't apply what I'm about to show you, you will be fitting the same statistics as those people. However, if you do decide to apply what I'm about to share with you, I can guarantee to you 100% that you'll be living a life on your terms. That every day you wake up will feel like a blessing. You won't be a cog in the machine, you'll be the whole flipping machine. You won't be a grain of sand, you'll be the whole desert. I mean, you wouldn't be the snowflake, you'll be a flipping avalanche. You know what I'm saying? You'll have a big significance on the planet if you choose to apply what I'm about to share with you. And like I said, everything in life, right now, as human beings, we are simply the sum total of our past decisions and actions. That is all we are as people. We are simply the sum total of our past decisions and actions. So that means the only way to change our future is to change our decisions and actions. And I'm giving you an opportunity to do that today. Now, when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, for me, when I first started out back in 2013, I found the whole process very daunting. I found it very long-winded. I found it very not young people friendly. I found it too overcomplicated. So for now, whenever I like to do a talk on business and entrepreneurship, I like to break it down very simple. Because for me, there's only 4 basic principles for every single business which is out there. So if you've got a pen and paper, get ready to write this down. When you've got pen and paper, or notes on your phone or whatever. I know you're prepared. I know if you haven't, you got your phone. Yeah. Okay. So I like to call this the quick spin. Why do I call this a quick spin? Like I said, I find that business is very, very overcomplicated, more than it has to be. So I kind of broken it all down into literally just a quick spin. So when you talk to people about business, it can just be just real quick, doesn't have to be too complicated. So the spin is actually an acronym. Spin is actually an acronym. So each one, by acronym I mean that each one of those letters actually stand for something which can help you apply to your business. But for time's sake for today, because I'll cover this in like a whole hour's talk or a day talk. But for the sake of today, I just want to talk about the I. Because for me, this is the most important letter of the quick spin, which is actually the I. And the I is idea generation and execution. When starting out in business, don't worry about anything else apart from the idea, generation, and execution. Because without an idea, nothing's going to happen. If you don't execute the idea, there's no point having the idea. For me, that is the fundamental basic. So when you go to business conventions, business talks, they're talking about business finance, business loans, or business. It overcomplicates things. All you need to start a business is an idea. It's just an idea. And I read it, and Les Brown, he talks about, he says that every single person, hello, Let's run. He looks like every single person on the planet has at least 4 to 5 ideas that if they applied them to their lives, would change their fortunes forever. So let's talk about idea generation very briefly. Now, ideas on paper are worthless. They don't mean anything. Ideas are like arseholes. Everybody can have one. You know, they're not necessarily unique to anybody. And because of that reason, when people do generate ideas, because you have ideas coming to you all the time, like you might look at window, oh, I've got an idea. And because of that reason, because everybody can have an idea, a lot of people dismiss any ideas that they do have. They think, oh my God, that's not going to work. But let me tell you this, let me tell you about when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I used to play on a games console called a Nintendo 64. You guys remember Nintendo 64? Like, it's one of the ones you used to have the 3 handles. It's like, they haven't made a games console since. You got the handle here, handle here, handle here. Like, I used to be stylish and play all like this sometimes. But one of my favorite games in the Nintendo 64, tell me if you know it. It was of an Italian plumber. No, it's of 2 Italian plumbers. One wore red, one wore green. They used to run around getting coins, jumping on turtles, eating mushrooms and growing. Like they were in Amsterdam, trying to free a princess who got kidnapped by a fire-breathing turtle. Guys, turtles live in water. Do you know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be breathing fire. But we all know how ludicrous the idea sounds, right? On paper, the idea sounds silly, right? You got 2 Italian plumbers eating mushrooms, getting gold coins, jumping on turtles, trying to... On paper, it sounds stupid, right? But we all know the name of that game is what? Mario. Thank you. Ideas don't have to make sense. You know what I'm saying? The more abstract the idea, the better. So for me now, whenever I get a random idea, I'm like, yes, I've got the new Mario now. Do you know what I'm saying? So don't worry about when you're thinking of ideas how ludicrous it sounds, because you don't want to be vanilla. Because if you're just vanilla, all you're going to do is add to the noise. You're going to add to the market, which is already there. Like Yak said, there's already massive amounts of sports academies in England. So it'd be a waste of time trying to make a sports academy. How are you going to be different? How are you going to add your fire-breathing turtle to your business? And what is it going to be? Because if you're just doing what everybody else does, you're just going to get results everybody else has. But you don't want to be average. Because how are you going to stand out doing the exact same thing as everybody else if someone's already doing it before you? So you've got to think to yourself, when you're generating your idea, how am I going to add my princess to it? How am I going to add the fire-breathing turtle? How am I going to add my 2 Italian plumbers to it? So you honestly got to sit down and think about, right, I don't want to be vanilla, I want to stand out and make noise. And that's why the latter part of this, which I touched on, is the execution. Oops. Okay. Because when you do have the idea that, right, you've got the idea of the fire-breathing turtle to go with your business, which is great, but how are you going to now execute it? How are you going to execute it? That's a strategy in itself. How are you going to execute the strategy to do it? Because it doesn't matter how good your idea is, if you don't execute it right, you might as well not have it in the first place. You have to execute it correctly. That's why you got company. Have you guys heard of Uber? Yeah. Oh my God, do you know what Uber did? Uber, you know how Uber works, right? Yeah. They now have taxi companies in places like France, places in different parts of America, suing them for taking business away from them. They disrupted the industry. You don't want to just go into industry and say, hey, you're right, I'm here now. No, you want to go into industry and absolutely execute and disrupt it. Otherwise, what is the point? That's why Uber did fantastic. They disrupted the whole of the taxi industry. It's like Facebook. Facebook did fantastic too. They changed the game. Facebook the business model of Facebook is unreal because it's a free platform. The platform is free. Facebook are the biggest content creators in the world, but they don't create no content. We do. You know what I'm saying? They enter the marketplace with their princess, with their fire-breathing turtle, and execute it. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Airbnb. Have you heard of Airbnb? Yeah. Airbnb are one of the biggest hotel providers, in fact, the biggest hotel providers in the world, but don't own any hotels. You get what I'm saying? It's unreal. They came in and executed. Now they got other B&Bs, they got other hostels, other hotels hating on them because they're taking business away from them. Because they decided that, right, they're not going to come into industry and be vanilla, because anyone can be vanilla. They decided they're going to go into industry and make noise. So that's it from me, to be honest. What did you want to...
No, go ahead.
I'm just going to end on one of my favourite quotes.